welcome to Turn the Page, the official podcast of the Syosset Public Library.
Welcome to Syosset Library's Turn the Page podcast. I'm your host, Jessica, and I'm actually here with two authors who wrote a book together called Seeing Other People, and it is beyond genre, which I love recently, has become really something that I've enjoyed, that books are not, they don't seem to really be adhering themselves to a specific genre. And I think that our time has kind of come because of that. A lot of us who read across the gamut, who might be put off if somebody's like, oh, this is lit fic or this is fantasy or sci-fi. I think we've all kind of found this nice blend. So before I launch into any more confusion about the book itself, other than talking about what it's not, how about you both introduce yourselves and tell us about Seeing Other People?
Absolutely. I'm Austin Siegemund-Broka.
I'm Emily Wibberley.
And we are co-authors of contemporary romance and its various subgenres, as well as you're saying, things that kind of blend everywhere in the middle. Seeing Other People is our fifth contemporary romance novel. And again, we use contemporary romance kind of generously. It takes place in the real world, follows people who basically adhere to the normal rules of physics and life, with one exception, which is that Morgan and Sawyer are each haunted by actual ghosts of exes. And for Morgan, this is a cheerful, easygoing, but altogether a little bit annoying one-night stand named Zach. And for Sawyer, this is his fiance, who has been clinging to the afterlife for the past 5 years. And both of them have their own reasons for wanting these hauntings to be resolved. And when they meet in a support group for the paranormally affected in none other than sunny Los Angeles, because that's exactly where such a thing would exist, they form a grudging friendship and collaboration to help their ghosts resolve their unfinished business. And in the meantime, they discover new leases on life and feelings for each other.
That is a really succinct description of this book, and I love it. And that's kind of why I was saying there's a lot of genre blending going on here, because I do think that this book would appeal to people who are fans of contemporary romance. However, you have a slight or not so slight supernatural tilt to it. And you deal with things, I think, that would go well for book clubs as well, including enduring grief and what it really means to move on. So first of all, you guys have been writing together for quite a while. How did the idea for this particular story come to you?
I think that you said it, like Austin pitched the idea of what about two people who are haunted?
Truthfully, it came from the pun.
Title. Yeah.
We literally were like, what if this was used to refer to seeing in a spectral, literal way?
Yeah.
And so we're like, that'd be fun.
Yeah. And then from there, we just, I can't even remember if originally it was exes or what, but we would.
Yeah, I don't know that it was.
Yeah, it was just.
I think we kind of added that twist on.
Yeah. And this idea of, we were deciding like, well, we want them to be different. So we want one to be like a really meaningful long-term relationship. And then we don't want the book to be like too sad, but a little bit sad. So we just didn't want like everyone to just be drowning in grief. We wanted, it has been a long time since his fiance has passed away. So he has done a lot of the grieving already, and it is time to move on. And so that's where it came. We were just like, how do we craft a love story for these people who are trying to let go?
One thing I thought was really interesting was that while you do have Sawyer, who obviously he lost his fiance, and that is heartbreaking, Morgan actually ended a long-term relationship before everything else. So it's a different play on that. While Zach was part of her aftermath of that, she does have experience with
Mhm.
having a broken engagement as well.
Yeah.
However, she was the one who broke that
Who broke it.
engagement
Right.
versus Sawyer's situation where it
Yeah.
ended in a sad tragedy.
We thought it was a good way to sort of counterpose them, that Sawyer, the very nature and root of his haunting is the intensity of his commitment and his inability to move on from that specific portion of his life, whereas Morgan, makes a natural counterpart for him, but also he for her, in that she's so scared of commitment and so averse to anything that resembles that kind of emotional attachment.
And of course, she feels like she wasted this other man's time and was this mistake in his life. And Sawyer's the one to be like, my engagement that didn't end in a wedding did not waste my time at all. And so doesn't always have to go the way that you envisioned when you started.
Yeah, I thought that just their whole outlooks were very different, and it definitely also adds a dimension to ghosting people.
Right? We were aware of the pun.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I do like how you use the connection to the afterlife and all of that as sort of an apparatus for building connections also between people.
Yeah.
And that was, again, I think it's aside from it being a romance, it gives you a lot to think about.
We hoped so. We did. It was something that we did kind of discover more and more as we wrote the book. We wanted to write a clever paranormal rom-com, of which there are many entries in that genre that we really like and think are really fun. And the more we started contouring the story and these particular characters, the more we realized we couldn't ignore getting deeper into discussions of grief and moving on and how to kind of rebuild a life in the aftermath of something like that from various different perspectives, whether you're that person's family or their former family or a complete stranger who has only known them in the echo of something like that. And so it started from a kind of cute, fun premise, and it quickly became a vehicle to get into a lot of other issues.
As we were writing, and we were like, oh, we really like Zach, the ghost that Morgan has. And we were like, we're going to have to say goodbye to him or something at the end of this book. And so we started to grieve this character ourselves.
Yeah, it was tough.
It took on a new depths that we had not prepared for when we started the book.
Meta dimension.
I mean, yes. I also just thought it was interesting to have those ghosts as characters. Even after their stories were technically over, their stories weren't over. And you think that maybe their stories aren't over for a specific reason, but with the two main characters, with Morgan and Sawyer, you learn a lot more about that. And I did like that very much. I also enjoyed Zach as a character. Did you guys separate whose POV you wrote from? How do you do you use post-it notes? How do you make this work?
Yeah, it's a good question.
We used to write everything just together in the same room, trading sentences back and forth, and it took a really, really long time, and there was a lot of conflict, and we have a 9-month-old baby now, and so things have changed a lot. And the way we work now is that I kind of do a zero draft, and then Austin takes that zero draft and turns it into a first draft, and then I revise that first draft, and then he revises that draft, and we kind of go back and forth in this iterative process where it's really both of our voices combined for both characters, and we do not do any switching off.
How did you all start writing together? That's something I'm dying to know. I know that you've been writing together for a while, but this is my first time talking to you about it.
We have, but it postdates the start of our relationship by a lot. We were not like co-writers who fell in love. We had a friendship and a relationship for a long time before Emily started writing fiction and talking to me about it and bouncing ideas off me and asking for edits and the more and more we kind of backed into that process together, the more and more we realized that it was working as well as the rest of our relationship was, frankly. And so Emily invited me to come on as a full-time collaborator. And this was, I kind of knew intuitively, a great idea. And we started from there and began that process at that point, sort of developing our first idea together. That was something that we were really outlining together, and then started writing on the page together. And that was like almost 10 years ago now. And so the process has had a lot of time to evolve and improve. And we've gone through a lot of genres and a lot of experiences. And the subject matter that we have wanted to write about has changed as our relationship has.
So with this kind of almost being a meta world, would you ever revisit this scenario, maybe with different characters?
With the ghosts?
With
Oh,
like
yeah.
other ghosts.
Yeah.
I think we want to keep doing things that are kind of like contemporary plus. Like
Yeah.
we are trying to do a time travel contemporary plus one next. Like we want to keep pushing the genre a little bit. And as you're saying, kind of like blend things and invite like other readers and broaden contemporary. And we think that so many other authors are doing this too at the same time.
Yeah.
And it's so much fun to read, and we want to keep doing that. So while we probably won't do ghosts again as much as like
If they
do
want us to,
love
like,
ghosts,
will.
we love them.
Yeah.
We want to find other little twists to
Ways of
genre.
using metaphysical paranormal
Yeah.
phenomena to show things about real life and people's relationships to each other.
And that just kind of brings me back to what we were talking about before. I mean, do you all plot, like, or are you just kind of sitting there with your coffee, like, yes, and
We definitely plot
A lot.
We do a lot. Like, 'cause I think as co-writers, like it would be very challenging not to, like, as much as we joke that we kind of like share the same brain, we don't actually. And so you want to make sure that we're setting things up that are going to get picked up and carried to the end and not just like dropped. So
It's very important for me to get an outline and be like, what is actually happening in this chapter?
yeah,
Like,
we do like brainstorm big pieces together of like, we figure out who the characters are and kind of like some major like set pieces we want to do, or like where we're thinking the ending should be. And then I will turn that into an outline that is more beat by beat. And as we go on, like we are embellish and change
We do.
things, but
Add
we do
motifs,
try to stay
experiment.
more true to it.
Yeah,
just so that it doesn't splinter into two different people's.
Yes, exactly. And be like, what were you thinking here?
Yeah.
Like, our process simply cannot accommodate that.
Yeah.
And also we think we get a better product from that.
Well, this book is wonderful, and I really do think it's going to gain just interest of people, like I said, across genres. It's a good one for fans of contemporary romance, and if you're looking for something different in your book club that is not heavy but expressive, it really delves into just sort of how we express ourselves after grief and relationships. This is a really good one too. So
Good.
I really enjoyed it, and the pun "seeing other people" was fun. I love
Yeah,
that when
dude, like,
people
why
just
not?
have fun.
Thank you. Thank you. That means a lot.
Yeah.
All right, so this was Jessica with Syosset Libraries Turn the Page podcast. My guests were
Emily Wibberley
And Austin Siegemund-Broka.
and we are going to close this chapter.
It's time to close this chapter of Turn the Page. Join us for the next episode.